In
Greetings.
Go ahead.
Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Bluedragonfive here.
And Jacob Wile, too.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we find ourselves in the midst of Disney's big venture into the world of streaming, having started a war in the process, we thought it'd be nice to stay up to date on the ever-growing catalog and rule on what's a must or a bust on Disney Plus.
And tonight, we bring you Hawkeye, Episode 5, Ronin.
Yeah.
So, greetings to everyone out there. Unfortunately, Tiggy cannot be with us since he's seeing a certain other Marvel project that just came out.
Yeah.
But so Dragon and I today are taking over the helm.
Yes. So what did you? So Jacob, just in general, how have you been feeling about the show up to this point?
Honestly, I've been kind of impressed with it. I mean, I like the kind of lower stakes, more not necessarily more personal, but more. It's kind of like street level kind of heroics that we haven't seen in the wider MCU outside of Netflix, out of the Netflix series, really.
Yeah. Funny you mentioned the Netflix series because that was definitely on my mind during this one.
For an obvious reason, if those of you that watched it, and keep in mind, if you haven't watched it, spoiler alerts from here on forward.
Major spoiler, it's going to happen. I'm going to get in my thoughts, and then we'll maybe dive in some spoilers. But yeah, folks.
Maybe not. We haven't seen No Way Home yet, so it might not be as big as that, but we'll discuss that event at a later date.
Certainly. We have no idea. I don't trust anything with that Spider-Man movie. We won't know.
I'm basically trying to avoid pretty much any post regarding that, just to say like a random comment that will say something about the movie.
It's a wise move. Because there's a lot to spoil with that movie.
Have you seen it yet?
Well, of course I have. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah. All right, so for me, this episode in particular, kind of a calm down before our seemingly very exciting finale. I think this one was like we kind of reached a peak, and then
it's the eye of the storm, basically.
Yeah, there you go. It's the eye of the storm, exactly. So, yeah, I think we're teeing up things impressively. What I've been kind of going with kind of the last couple episodes, especially last episode, was we've impressively turned our three storylines into kind of a straight shot. One could say with the archery of it all. We turned to a straight shot. They've all converged very well. We've wrapped the Christmas lights around the arrow, the three strings of Christmas lights, and it looks all pretty and nice. And I mean, it's.
And some surprising figures at the center of it all.
Oh yes, absolutely. Let's just say I'll give it away this much here. There's a fat man ain't Santa, kids. So yeah,
and someone Kate is well aware of. Someone Kate knows very well.
Oh yeah. So I gotta admit, the only thing I'm worried about getting into the last episode, I have a good feelings based on how well they've done it with the other episodes. I mean, the watch plot line, the watch story point is the only thing I'm worried about because everything else has been kind of tied together. But that watch story point is like that's possibly introducing another character because we don't know who owns that watch or why it's a big deal. I mean, it's probably going to tie into the tracksuits have gone to great lengths to acquire it. So I'm hoping that's going to be have kind of like a salient transition into our story, so it's not going to like go with the works like, okay, we have our good story track going, and then don't forget the watch and who it belongs to. So I'm hoping that goes smoothly. That's like the only kind of hiccup I'm potentially worried about going into our last episode, given how we've seemed to be kind of wrapping up and transitioning things well, and it's been a really good time. You just kind of want more episodes, but hopefully that we haven't been overstaying our welcome, which is good.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this will be one of the ones that'll get a second season. I mean, we know it's getting a spin-off with Echo, and
absolutely, yeah. So that's the thing. It's quite possible that with all the shows, with the exception of Loki being the one that's just going to be Loki season 2, most of them could possibly get season 2, or most likely just going to be getting a retitle like possibly Echo, or just going to get like Captain America 4 in the case of Falcon the Winter Soldier.
Right, and technically, and Multiverse of Madness could be considered a quasi sequel to or / continuation of WandaVision.
Exactly. Again, we also have like the whole Agatha's House of Harkness thing, which is also possibly. I mean, my hope is that that's going to be like a backdoor, like okay, it's Wanda and Agatha, and there you go.
That guy's second comment, I'll highlight the first one later when we talk about it. He says, "I think Echo is kind of Hawkeye's second season in a way."
That seems to be probably the smartest tack. That but that's the easiest way to go. Sure.
I mean, we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, we don't know how far along it is or in the pipelines.
Yeah. I think it's. I got a feeling it's going to be more kind of echoes things. Given like I don't know. I got a feeling we're not just going to like
I think that's why it's more considered a spin-off rather than like a season two.
precisely. All right. So all that said, let's break it down. Jay, what do you think? Should we go maybe a little more linear, or you want to jump to our kind of the big thing?
I mean, what do you think would be? But how do you guys usually do this for Hawkeye anyway?
Well, I mean, if there's a major demand, we'll talk about it. But it's kind of a little more loosey goosey. I mean, I would probably start with another Marvel star who entered this episode. Well, entered last episode. With the goggles and everything.
All right, let's go with that then.
Okay, we'll start there, and if that guy really wants to talk about it, that guy, say something in the comments, and we'll jump to the big thing. All right. Okay, so let's talk about that opening with Elena. Elena. So, of course, we filled in the Black Widow post-credit blanks here with she showed up. We showed folks. Basically, she's let's see. So she's
Honestly, that was kind of interesting that they showed her like trying to save someone, but it turns out she wasn't even really brainwashed. Like it shows that sometimes she is wrong with that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, the big thing is that everyone's like, "What happened?" Basically, with every check-in because of the blip in Endgame, there's the big question of, "But where was she during the Infinity Saga? Where was she during the big events?" We're asking this question to everyone now. I mean, I think it was very safe to assume, okay, well, she's curing the Black Widows. So we showed her curing the Black Widows to shut everyone up, apparently. So we revealed she did, in fact, get blipped, and something really interesting. I mean, her and Monica Rambeau, very interestingly, I love that we haven't done it necessarily in the same way twice yet. That with these characters, we've seen people, like returning in the like mid blip, so we get to see kind of like what we didn't see in Endgame when people returned.
I really like the way it showed the transition. Like for her, it was like instantaneous.
Yeah,
It's like she was like washing her face, and then all of a sudden, the entire area in the house has changed.
yeah, which is crazy. Yeah, like there's no like for all like for them it's 5 seconds instead of like just waiting in space as dust for 5 years or anything.
Oh, and that guy has a confirmation saying, well, I'm not saying it's Hawkeye's show. It's just more of a continuation of Hawkeye's show than like Loki is to WandaVision, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Sorry.
sure. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to bring that up out of nowhere.
Yeah. But speaking of which, so yeah, Anna's the Black Widow that we think is like in need of being cured. Very interestingly,
But instead, she just got her rug ruined.
yep, big old red Anna stain on that rug. But I like the story point that Anna, she bought this fancy house and everything by becoming kind of a Black Widow for hire. That's the idea. My assumption is that I don't know about this. My assumption is that she was probably probably more closer to Natasha's age, in which the Black Widows from Natasha's kind of regiment, they were they were conditioned versus chemically treated like the younger generation, which was Florence, which was Elena's. Like they got the chemical process. That's why there's an antidote for it. So I'm assuming that's what happened there. And regardless, gave Elena the little inkling of, hey, I could, looking for direction now that her sister's gone, I could become a Black Widow for hire and buy nice things in a nice house like this, which is why she is for hire in our episode.
It is pretty interesting, and also was interesting of who hired her in the first place.
Yes, so apparently Val, so the Contessa, just to be clear here, so I think I myself kind of need to wrap my head around this to make sure I got it right here. So Val, the Contessa, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who we introduced in Falcon Winter Soldier as well as at the end of Black Widow, the idea is she brokered the contract on Hawkeye. So she's the one who was contacted, like, hey, I got a job for you, my Black Widow for hire. Is that Val probably finds her all the business for her contracts and her targets and everything.
Yep.
And basically, and Val has in her in her back pocket for a for a Thunderbolts, perhaps. She has like, oh, I got a Black Widow on my side too. I can employ my Dark Avengers kind of lineup.
It's like, and if somebody needs somebody hit, I have a Black Widow. And that somebody just happened to want a former Avenger killed.
Yeah, I know how to keep my Black Widow happy. I'm gonna get her the guy who was there when her sister got killed. Yeah.
Yeah.
And okay, that guy says, where was Blade during Infinity War and Endgame? He's the only guy in the universe dealing with vampires. He's a busy guy. That's the thing. People are busy. People are busy. Plus, he wasn't.
Or maybe he just hadn't fully awakened yet, for all we know.
Yeah. Plus, I just want to remind everyone again: the threats were concentrated to very specific locations. It wasn't global. Okay, they were looking for the stones in very certain places, so they can't.
And in Endgame, it was like through time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like you can't really.
It's like, yeah, let's recruit this guy we don't know exists yet.
And then what do you really want? You wanted to watch it on TV? Hey, I should travel to help these people I don't know, and I only kill vampires. I should be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, it doesn't matter if I haven't been casted yet.
Yeah. So, yeah, we haven't shot a lick of footage with Mahershala Ali yet.
Heck, we haven't even seen him yet. We just heard him at the end of Eternals.
Yeah.
I mean, spoiler for the few people that probably haven't seen Eternals.
Yeah, spoiler for something you're not going to see.
Yeah.
Literally, he's not there. You don't see him.
He's not even confirmed that it's him.
Yes.
It is confirmed, but not in the movie.
Yes. All right, so
back to Hawkeye.
Yeah, so bridging off of Yelena here, let's talk about the big dynamic here. Let's talk about Kate and Yelena. They have a little, again, the idea of the next generation of both Hawkeye and Black Widow are kind of becoming friends. They have a little chat here, which was nice.
It was kind of interesting to see like how their different worldviews kind of clash, and it's like you come away from like neither one of them are entirely wrong or right about their respective points.
I love how Florence Pugh plays Yelena here, because I mean the thing that really charms me, because I really loved Red Guardian in Black Widow. I mean, again, I think she and David Harbour were the standouts of that movie. I love that you can see kind of with the family unit we saw there, you can see how they are their parents. Natasha's very much Rachel Weisz's the character, and then you have Florence Pugh here very much sounding like, oh, there's so much of Alexei in this child here.
She never mentions her mother. She more mentions like dad, like dad or father or whatever.
Yeah, Daddy says it was good for you. The mac and cheese, which by the way is a pull from Black Widow, because she at the top of there, like, she really wanted mac and cheese. She loves it.
Being hungry, like, food is good for you.
Exactly. So again, I love that we're kind of setting up kind of the friendships, and potentially, I don't know how we get her out of the Thunderbolts for all we know. I don't know. The fact that, again, maybe we shift her over from Thunderbolts to Young Avengers. Again, these are shows we have not gotten remotely yet, so this is all speculation in our delayed MCU kind of space that we're in these days.
Now that they're currently like teeing up like future things like Secret Invasion and stuff like that as well.
Yeah. So again, I love like she just takes joy in the little things. That's the thing I really dig about this character, is that it's like an element we saw with Natasha, but we get to see it in kind of full on with her sister, who basically was freshly unbrainwashed from Black Widow. So she's been really she's been cultivating her own personality. What are you like now that you're not just like a mindless weapon anymore? Like what kind of stuff do you want to do? Like, I want to go to New York. I want to see the sights. I want to like Rockefeller Center, which of course we're setting up for the climax of the finale, I'm sure.
And they wouldn't be mentioning it so many times if it wasn't going to be brought up.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, but I do kind of like how she definitely has a different personality than Natasha did. Like, you can tell, like, she's definitely more of the little sister.
Absolutely. Just, again, it's a precocious little sister, and she's adorable. I like her.
And also an assassin that could kill you.
Yes. So much red on both your ledgers. I'm so proud.
Yep.
I can't remember if this was officially confirmed. I hear like they're doing a Red Guardian. There might be talk of doing a Red Guardian, series on Disney Plus. I really hope that's true, because I would love to see more of him.
That would be nice. I mean, it's kind of sad that Black Widow was not the best part of Black Widow.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, she looked at it this way. At the end of the day, Black Widow. It's a good movie that has Black Widow in it, but not the definitive Black Widow movie that she deserved. It's not like like Captain America has the Captain America movie. Iron Man has the definitive Iron Man movie. Black Widow not so lucky, I'm afraid.
We'll see. I mean, there's probably gonna be more Black Widow project down the line, just not with Natasha.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I'm saying. We're gonna anyway.
Yeah.
So getting back on point. So the big thing here, I mean, the one that I was worried about with the episode that I think I kind of found that I kind of when I rewatched the episode, it became better. Is like I think you as the audience member is thinking, and Elena, no, this didn't happen. Listen to Kate. Clint didn't do these things, but
she doesn't know that.
Exactly, that's the thing. So Clint, as we've seen this season, Clint's internalized his survivor's guilt so much, and the details have not have about the whole fact about the whole sacrifice thing basically died with her and Ronin, that if he hasn't talked about it, he's the only one who knows precisely how she died. I mean, he told the other Avengers what happened, but he didn't go into like the gritty details and everything, so the media doesn't know any of this. So by process of elimination, Elena does not know this either. So
she just got taken a bit farther. Like, my sister saved the world.
That's all she knows. She knows pretty much what the Avengers told everyone, which is like, we want to honor Black Widow. We want to get in like the gruesome details and everything, and then protect Hawkeye and his family. So we want to reveal that he was Ronin and everything. Just she and Hawkeye were there, and she sacrificed herself.
I think Natasha knew he was Ronin too.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And I mean, then she helped him get out of that. Honestly,
of course.
If only she would take the time to just talk it over with Clint, and it might just actually absolve both of them of a lot of their guilt.
Yes, but much like her father, a little thick-headed, little bit like. But again, here's what I like though, and this is really what wins over that point for anyone who hasn't been feeling like, oh, it's a misunderstanding thing. Well, to be fair, I really love that Elena. She can read people because she's a great Black Widow, and she can read Kate, and she knows that when Kate is defending Clint, she's not lying. You really do believe this, and I think that does motivate her to look into who her employer is, which then at the end of the day kind of cements her point of like, really, you sure I'm in the wrong here? You sure I don't know what's going on? So
yeah. And it was kind of surprising that it kind of did prove Kate's point.
Yeah.
Especially considering both the person who hired her and the person she's buddies with.
Yes. So speaking of which, let's say I'm sorry, a few things with that guy before I move on here. So that guy says, Elena deserved to know what actually happened to Natasha. Of course she did. Absolutely.
And I'm sure she will.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, Clint's the only one who knows that she has a sister, but has never met her. So by that logic, he would never be able to find her. So, I mean, especially if he was...
Well, I mean, I think she'd find him.
Well, which we saw, yeah.
I meant again.
Right.
So,
right.
And he's also, in Clint's mind, he probably does think he might as well have done it.
Yeah, I mean, again, Clint with the survivor's guilt, he absolutely believes. And again, he believes he could have done more. He could have pulled her up. He could have done so many things, which obviously was out of his control. She was dead set on, dying. So let's talk about who in fact, let's talk about Eleanor Bishop for a second. Let's talk about, of course, the wonderful, the talented Vera Farmiga here. We reveal this episode seemingly cast as the Heavy, which is not bad.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the entire season, I've been the whole thing that been going after Jack, and then when it was showing up in there, and then when he was arrested, I was like, okay, this is too easy. It's only the 5th episode. I was kind of thinking like, okay, it was convincing. This is too easy. And then at the end, when I saw her with the other reveal, I was like, I knew it.
Yep, I kind of called that she had been shady and that she might have been pulling the strings here. Because if you think of
my line of process was like, she's in charge of the security company. Mm-hmm. She could easily manipulate the information that she knows that Kate and Clint are looking for.
Exactly. So by that logic, again, that was the big So.
Or at least have somebody else manipulate it for her. I mean, that's entirely possible.
Sure.
Sorry.
So let's see. So Eleanor, we have like the heart to heart between mother and daughter, in which Kate confides in her mother, which I'd like to think, just in what we reveal, but Eleanor basically convinces her, okay, I got to move up my timetable to frame this guy now. Basically, make Jack the patsy, which was always the plan, but maybe. I think part of me thinks she really does like Jack, but by the same token, she's definitely she's definitely playing the long con on the guy. Whether
Now I honestly kind of feel bad for him.
yeah, of course. That's the wonderful again. Only through and we kind of pulled the opposite of Better Call Saul, and I love it here. And this is why you get Tony Dalton. Tony Dalton can play lovable and possibly very sinister, or vicious, or evil at the same time. And yes, he can be the most. He literally be the devil in the room, but it'll be so darn charming and Errol Flynn like, and we use that here to its advantage. We kind of flip it on its head here. Like, oh no, he was the good guy after all. No.
Like he actually did love Eleanor, and wanted to get to know Kate.
Absolutely. Which again, with Tony Dalton, is that sinister air. He's literally a mustache twirler, you know.
I mean, that's one reason. I mean, I haven't seen Better Call Saul, so I can't really say anything about him, about that particular side of him. But I always just kind of figure it's like, okay, they're just setting this up way too easily.
Yeah, of course, me. I'm of course with Vera Farmiga. Of course, this is right up her alley, in that she plays the loving mother with a sinister side. Of course, a little kind of Farmiga signature of some of her greatest work. So here's the only question I have in the episode. We're going to need the last episode to really fill in the blanks with here. The only hole it's not a problem. It's just something I'm curious about. Jacob, when do you think she hired Yelena? Do you think it was during episode 4 when, okay, my daughter is hanging out with Hawkeye, I got to move up my timetable and get and basically snuff out the risk, which is Hawkeye? Or do you think she hired this was done in advance? Because I don't think she really would have a motive until that point.
I honestly don't know. I mean, it's entirely possible that she could have hired Yelena before that point as well. And it just took Yelena some time to get there.
Because that's the thing. If I were see, because of Black Widow, all the timelines are all are kind of screwed up here. Because I'm thinking my mind says, okay, Yelena's been on her way the whole time. But Yelena, when she was paying her respects, I assume it's probably in Ohio or Oregon or Ohio. I can't remember where.
It was Ohio.
Okay, it was Ohio. Thank you. So, Jake, do you know how far Ohio is from New York by chance?
I mean, not off the top of my head. I can just pull up Google Maps real quick.
Right. So I'm saying, I mean, it's given
it. By drive. I mean, she probably has other means of transportation.
Sure.
I don't think being a Black Widow she'd drive.
Sure. So I'm just saying I could buy okay, so given a day, she would have 24 hours to get there. So given at least maybe a hair more, given at least a day's notice. I mean, assuming that she, it's on the East Coast, right? She could probably,
At least from my location, by car it would take at least 8 hours, almost 9 hours to get there by car.
What about by plane?
By plane, it would probably be just a couple hours.
I mean, it's possible. I don't know. It's possible. Regardless, so that's the site yet to be seen. Maybe the details of how exactly that happens. All we know, and I guess this will be the big transition point. So what we definitely know is how she hired the Black Widow, because we know she has connections, which I'm sure those big connections would lead her to the Contessa. A big higher up like the Contessa. Hey, I need an assassin, buddy. Can you find the best in the business? Of course I can. I can find that very easily. And of course, Joy Louis-Dreyfus at that beckoning call to find Black Widow. So we reveal Eleanor as the bad guy wonderfully with a photo, Jacob. And who else is in that photo?
That guy said it best earlier. Kingpin.
Yes.
He added a space in there, but oh well.
I let out the girlish shriek. I let out just is so embarrassing when this happens. Oh, I was so happy.
Good old Vincent D'Onofrio is back as the big old fat man.
Yep, the fat man around Christmas in a white suit, not the red.
It's this does raise an interesting question though.
Yes.
Regarding obviously, and everybody now knows it. Probably everyone who's watched it knows it, that he's bad. That And it was even before this episode that Kevin Feige confirmed that Charlie Cox would be returning as Daredevil, which obviously got a lot of people hyped up for this.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is, like, does this mean that technically the Marvel Netflix shows are canon, or they're just using the same actors?
Well, I'll tell you. Here's what I can confirm. Okay, just knowing all that. So here's what I can tell you. So there is evidence to suggest. So far, all the evidence I've seen is still in line with everything being in continuity with the Netflix show. Here's my proof.
And no, that guy says, "Sorry about the space, forgive me, but Kingpin."
Yes,
There we
Kingpin. So here's what we know. So when we had the flashback, of course, I wish we could see if we saw the cufflinks a little better, we could say with authority. But here's what we do know: the Kingpin in the flashback as the uncle was wearing black, had a black suit on, which he wore before before and during the first season of Daredevil, which is when that flashback took place. And now he is wearing white. Now that already cosmetically that lines up with the seasons 1 and 3 of Daredevil in terms of where these would take place. But here's the thing: you'll notice he has a cane. Now the cane. One, I just love the fact that we gave him the cane, just in the fact of this is what I've been wanting from like the inclusion of the Marvel Netflix shows to the new MCU shows that we're doing. Is let's just do the last vestiges that we did not do in the Netflix shows and just kind of spin it to kind of a new tone, which in this case was, if we do Daredevil again, let's give him the one thing he was missing in the Netflix show. Give him the DD on his chest. That's all we need to add.
And isn't the cane something that he had in the comics too?
Yeah, that's the thing. So he did not have it in the Netflix shows, but he had it in the comics. And we didn't see the top of this cane, but he had like a little. In the comics, he has like a jewel on it, which I'm wondering if they're going to go the full like diamond on top of the cane thing. But the point being, he has a cane. Now, here's my theory.
All right, right now I'm just trying to remember if he had it in the end in Spider-Man animated series.
Well, not. Here's the thing: not. The toys they made for it had the cane with it, but I don't believe in the show he did.
I mean, I know he had the white suit and everything because that's what I remember Kingpin like the most outside of the original Daredevil movie.
Actually, wait, he did have the cane, but he didn't use it all the time. He had the cane because he fought Daredevil with it in the crossover episode for Spider-Man the Animated Series. So he did have the cane at least once, and they went crazy with it when they did the toy line. Hey, give him the cane.
And I know that that's like where it was basically shown that it was all muscle, not necessarily fat, too.
Which was a great reveal. It's awesome. Anyway, so here's my point. My theory with the cane, what I'm really psyched about it, either way you slice it, it could very much line up with an aftermath thing with Daredevil season 3. Because think about it. The Kingpin, when they did the awesome 3-way fight between Daredevil, Bullseye, and the Kingpin, Fisk got really hurt during that fight. He got stabbed a couple times, and of course, then he got beaten to near death by Daredevil. So I like to think either A, the cane is some residual physical damage. He has to use a cane now. Now he was stabbed on the opposite side, so that's the one hole in that hole. Sorry,
the image could be flipped though.
It's entirely possible. There you go. So regardless, you have the cane thing, but either way, either that or B, which could still very much work and reflect that, he in the comics, the cane can also be used as a weapon, which is entirely possible. Maybe he doesn't want to be caught off guard like that again, so he always has a weapon built into the cane now. Like, I don't know whether it be a sword or it could be like a taser. Could have a weaponized cane now? Maybe that's the practical reason for it.
I do remember he also didn't use a cane in the Spider-Man game either.
Right.
At least it wasn't shown anyway.
Sure. I mean, he didn't use the cane often because usually he's just sitting around in Spider-Man the Animated Series. When he rarely fought, he either did he always gave Spider-Man the bear hug. When he fought Daredevil, he had to go up against the Billy Club, so they gave him the cane.
I mean, it's always kind of interesting that like he doesn't get his hands dirty very often, but when he does, he can go toe to toe with he's a non-superpowered guy, and he can go toe to toe with some guys with some of the strongest heroes in the Marvel universe.
So regardless, just in terms of whether it's the whole canon thing or not, or just using the same actors, I mean, they haven't said officially one way or another, but nothing has been contradicting the show so far, which I think is the biggest thing people forget about why we could absolutely fold in the Netflix shows and the other Marvel television shows rather easily. They went out of their ways not to contradict the movies because they held out hope they would be included in the movies. So by that logic, everything should be fine. So we'll see what happens. There's only one thing this season. There's only one thing on the edge of my seat with this season. the Mockingbird thing. Some people have been theorizing that the Watch ties into perhaps Laura being Mockingbird, who had basically had a fling with Hawkeye in the comics. They were a big deal, and I think married at some point in the comics. So there's a question of, will we reveal that, which does kind of fly in the face of Agents of Shield with they had a Mockingbird.
It says Agents of Shield was never really. I don't think they. I think Marvel's. I think Agents of Shield and the Netflix series are kind of separate continuities.
Well, I mean but my point is, Jay, they're all technically kind of in the same pot here. We're seeing what's gonna take. I mean, they all played by that same rules.
Because if they did, they would have to explain why Coulson hasn't been in any of the movies, why he's just off on the side doing whatever.
Exactly, it's just gonna be kind of. Well, I don't want to get into semantics about the whole like MCU canonized thing here. It's just the fact of just like you literally have a show built around an MCU character. It's kind of hard to believe that's not in the MCU. That's kind of the weird thing with that. But anyway, the fact is, we won't. I don't think we'll be able to definitively say anything until until the next episode, or perhaps what I think would probably happen, given that now Kingpin is on the board and a thing. The Echo show will be built around her dealing with the Kingpin. So let's talk about our root image here. Let's flip back to that here.
One last thing from that guy.
Sure.
I hope they find a way to bring back John Barenthal's Punisher as well.
I think, and again, especially if we're definitely going that canon route, Punisher is included into that because he was introduced in Daredevil season 2. But regardless, they've been showing a lot. I think bare minimum they want Daredevil and the Punisher. Bare minimum of all the Netflix heroes, and as a third will probably be Jessica Jones. But I think Bernthal's very safe to coming back as the Punisher once they find a show to put him in, which I mean we could do very easily with something like Moon Knight. So it's possible.
This is kind of funny that we've already spent like 30 minutes talking, and we've only discussed like the very end of the episode.
Well, we did talk about the opening and the Black Widow, but also.
Well, I know, but majority of it was just the ending.
Well, it's important, darn it.
Well, we literally spent like 20 minutes talking about like the last few seconds of the episode.
Yep, we got a lot of mileage out of that little photo, and just also I just love Hawkeye. Just the reveal in itself. Two things about the reveals to talk about it more.
Yeah. So and Hawkeye was like, "That's the guy." Kingpin.
The guys love it, just very blatantly just calls out the whole like, yeah, we've been building it up. Like, yeah, that's the guy I've been worried about this whole time. Kingpin. He said the name.
And of course there's Kate like realizing that her mom is the one who hired Yelena to kill Clint in the first place. You can tell she's just like, oh crap.
Oh yeah. So also, of course, the thing that just elated my heart. You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch, or as I like to refer to it, you're a mean one, Mr. Fisk.
It's like I just really love like it's not necessarily like a juxtaposition in any way, but it's just kind of funny to go from like that big tense reveal to you're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
And then also you'll notice the graphics of like the animated kind of the Matt Fraction, David Aja kind of looking art. They added the Kingpin shadow at the very end of the
yeah, I noticed that. I was even like, oh,
so cool.
It's like he's looking over them.
But I like too that we haven't because it was kind of a crappy photo. We haven't gotten like a full like it's D'Onofrio, but they're just teasing you. It's like
it's him because his name's in the credits. He's like listed as one of the main stars.
I know. I just love that. I just love that visually. We're so close. It's like right there. We know we're getting him, but we just need to see him out like in like clear focus instead of obscuring it like with the chuckle and now like the image and he's there.
I mean, he's not even listed as like one of the special guest stars. He's billed as a main star.
Yeah,
which is crazy considering he only appears a photo in this one, and it's the next episode is the series finale.
That implies to me he's gonna have a very important because again that watch thing we still have no idea what's going on there. Remember, Kingpin's big plan is he wants that watch, so that's where we're gonna reveal all that. So
and he killed Maya's father because of it.
Yes, so
like he. And it seems like he pinned it on Ronin or something along those lines.
Well,
wait.
Well,
I got mixed up. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't think that's right. Okay, so let's talk about the Maya versus Ronin scene. This was also a really great scene in the episode. I felt so. Of course, with his family in the crosshairs, Clip nips Maya's revenge in the bud.
You said clip.
I did?
Yeah, he said clip nips.
Oh, right. Sorry. So, I guess, okay, so Clint nips Maya's revenge in the bud, and also I love how he arranges the meeting where he shoots like the arrow through the windshield of the tracksuit bros. And it's like a little message.
Maya, come on. It's like, Maya, meet me tonight where you first met Ronin. All alone. It's like, we're not Maya.
God, the tracksuit mafia.
I love those guys.
Yeah, very fun henchmen.
Yep.
So,
and of course, I think he realized that she wouldn't actually come alone.
of course, absolutely.
I mean, anytime you ask someone like that to come alone, they never come alone.
Absolutely. So both of them trained weapons with a chance to move on here, but I love how just a matter of fact. I like there is some remorse on Clint, but there's like just like a very honest like just kind of admittance of like, look, if you go after my family, you will be Ronan's last kill. I'm not joking. Okay, I didn't want I don't want to kill anyone, but if you threaten my family, I will have no recourse but to kill you. Not in so many words, but
I mean, it shows both why he's an Avenger, and also why he's so feared.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you saw Hawkeye, he took out all these guys just when she thought she had the drop. Yeah,
there's a reason why he's like one of the Avengers.
Absolutely. Speaking of which, the Avengers Monument, really nice, kind of quiet, literally quiet moment. He took the hearing aid out to have a kind of a private moment with Natasha, kind of spiritually.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah. So yeah, we had a really cool fight between he and Mai, and then of course the big reveal. Basically, this is what was continuing to build upon the Kingpin thing. We're like, oh god, we're definitely. We thought we were kind of changing up the origin of Echo. We kind of added a spoke to it. Where hey, we've added Ronin to things. Where in the comics, Kingpin just outright, had. I forget if I think he did it with his bare hands in the comic, but either, point is Kingpin was very involved in the death of her father, and it looked like some people were saying, oh, well, we changed that. Where nope, Kingpin's still very much involved. The idea is that Ronan was tipped off to the father basically being the target he should go to. Maybe misinformed, I'm not sure. Like basically he might have been thinking, I don't know if Ronan was told like he was the Kingpin in this case, like not knowing how far up, who was really in charge or what. But all we know is that the Kingpin, I'm assuming what happened here is the Kingpin's guy. Hawkeye knew an informant who, as we very much reveal here, is Kazi. That's why Hawkeye knows who Kazi is and everything. And Maya's on to Kazi. Kazi should really be sweating it right now.
Yep.
Kazi informed Hawkeye under the direction of the Kingpin to direct Ronin to her father. I'm going to assume that they basically keep Kingpin in the shadows. It's like, hey, here's the guy you want. He's the leader of the tracksuits. Kill that guy. Don't kill the fat man.
Yep.
So
speaking of which, another thing from that guy. Show isn't Hawkeye anymore. It's Kingpin's back the series.
Exactly. That's what I'm pretty sure. To me, that's what I'm pretty sure Echo's going to be, which I think is what everyone's been hoping for. Any way you slice it, it's going to be Backdoor Daredevil Season 4 with a really interesting sell of, okay, let's take... The Echo saga was like a Daredevil story in the first place, so... And her going up against the Kingpin, which this episode very much tees up. Where okay, so she's going to be reconciling with the man who was raised her like a father is now the man who killed her father, and she has to get revenge for that. She can't let that slide.
It's going to be quite interesting to see how that all plays out.
So if I'm a betting man, the way it's probably going to go is.
Plus, it'd be kind of interesting to see like a Daredevil who's blind teaming up an Echo who's obviously deaf.
See, I am so sold on this Echo series. I keep having to tell Tiki about it 9,000 times. Like, no, listen, the Echo show it's going to be awesome. It's going to be like Daredevil Season 4 if we get the Kingpin, which now we've gotten the Kingpin.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's very exciting stuff. And again, dramatically, it's a good reveal. And I love that she's so... You see how the anger and betrayal and the love for the Kingpin here, and that she almost kills Ronan just in rejection of that idea. Thankfully, Kate saves his bacon.
And then when she confronts Kazi about why he wasn't there.
Oh, yeah. I think Maya's smart enough to know, Kazi, my buddy here, he's lying to me.
Yeah, but she doesn't press it any further.
Of course. That's sure. That's sure to come back. Speaking of which, Kate, I like, Kate and Clint, they kind of took a break from each other this episode, and they very much kind of saved each other's bacon in the end when it counted, which was nice, kind of come back together.
I mean, it kind of makes up for how Kate kind of screwed everything up last episode.
Right, right. Well, I mean, I think she screwed up things more like a couple episodes ago. Like, last episode wasn't really her fault. Last episode was like, oh my god, there's a
well,
Black Widow here.
yeah, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, sure, sure. So, yeah, and of course, well, now we know. I mean, the reason, like kind of the doubt. That honestly, the thing that broke them up was their mother. Was her mother. So
And now we know the reason why.
exactly, she wants to protect her daughter from. I gotta shut this guy up. I gotta 86 him.
But the question is, like, I wonder exactly why does she want him dead? Like, does she kind of blame? Maybe she blames him for her former husband's death. I mean,
I have a theory, Jacob. Here's what I think. Here's what I think the deal is. I could be wrong, but just based on what we've been given, I think what's happening is okay. So we know Fisk wants the watch, but divorced from that's just what he wants. She has no designs on the watch. Her designs are either she wants money or framing the swordsman, for the crime, framing the swordsman for the murder of his uncle is either for money and like I marry this guy, I get his money, and I'm with the elite that is my buddy, the Kingpin. It could be a money move, or most likely the reason Hawkeye needs to go is that it's suspicion in that of the frame up, like in that she wants to hide the frame up of Jack from the Kingpin because again she's added him to like the Kingpin's ledger. I mean, I imagine she just I sorry, let me rephrase that. I think I botched that. Let me try it again. Sorry.
okay.
So I think what's happening is all she's trying to throw suspicion off for the frame up and everything for the Patsy thing, and the fact that Hawkeye's looking into this case is not good. And as we established here, as it's always been kind of with Daredevil, is that Wilson Fisk wants to stay under the radar. So the problem is if Hawkeye's poking around, making a big stink around Wilson Fisk, this will not go well, and she'll probably be killed. So the sooner I get Hawkeye off the table, and he's become a big problem, and now my daughter's involved, I have to get him killed fast. So the Kingpin does not think I'm a risk and basically kill our whole family, as he is very reputed to do since the first season of Daredevil. So
He's pretty much the exact opposite of Hydra.
yes. Now speaking of Hydra, there is okay. So I bring that up because Val is like people are thinking she's going to be Madam Hydra and all that stuff. But the important thing that's just like kind of a sloppy transition. But here's the theory. So the pull from the Hawkeye comic that obviously the show with Matt Fraction as producer and everything is very much in line with. So a couple things from the book that seem to be kind of circling around where we're going in our story here. Kingpin was in that book, so there's one thing. But the big thing is that the other baddie of that story with basically all the criminals going after Hawkeye in that story was Madame Mask. Now a lot of people are thinking Eleanor will be Madame Mask.
That's an interesting theory. I mean, I've never read that. Never read that series, even though I've heard it's actually really good.
Yeah. Well, basically, Madame Mask was kind of like the main bad guy. She basically framed Clint Barton. Again, it's another frame up, which again you can see where the DNA of the story is kind of bleeding into things here. She framed Clint Barton for murder. That was like the whole thing that happened there. So, point being, yeah, it's she could be Madame Mask, which would be giving Vera Farmiga like a big iconic. If they give her like the gold mask, that'll be huge. And if, in case anyone's gonna like be all continuity on me and call out, I know you love Agent Carter. What about the Madame Mask we did in Agent Carter season 2? Well, look, we had Whitney Frost, but she never put on the gold mask. That's the difference. Okay, we never called her Madame Mask. We never gave her the mask. It's like we've had Anton Vanko, and we've had Ivan Vanko, and we had him at Whiplash. We had no Crimson Dynamo, only in name only. We've switched things up a little bit. Countless examples. Just throwing that out there. Also, fun nod from the comics. Grills. We brought Jacob. How do you feel about Grills, man?
He's pretty cool. He seems like a cool guy.
Yeah, I think a fun update from the comic, making him like a LARPer, and he's still roommates with Hawkeye, which was nice, and that's from the book.
I mean, like I said, I haven't read the book.
No, I'm sure. I'm just saying, like he's had the fact that they took a pull and they kind of gave him something a little bit more kind of plot relevant here, which is nice.
I said he seems like a guy you'd like to be buddies with.
yeah. He's
I mean, I'm not currently into LARPing or anything, but just in general, I mean, he seems like the kind of guy that would kind of get you into it.
Yeah, he's a firefighter. He respects Hawkeye. He's very helpful. He lets him crash on his couch, and he and his LARPing buddies set him up with some new costumes that we're going to see in the last episode. I love that, by the way. Is that
And he feeds the dog.
yes, he does. He feeds the pizza dog.
Lucky the pizza dog.
Lucky the pizza dog.
don't,
So, by the way,
don't actually feed pizza to your dogs in real life.
of course. I gotta tell you, there's a trend in the Disney Plus Marvel MCU shows that I don't mind at all. The fact that we give them the iconic costumes in these last episodes, we give them like we build up the costumes and everything.
I think we got Scarlet Witch and WandaVision.
Of course, and we have obviously we have Sam Wilson, Captain America. That's a biggie.
Loki didn't really get his new costume or anything.
Well, I mean, I think the one there was Kang the Conqueror, but sure,
Well, yeah, but that's not really a costume. You're going with costumes.
Okay, you're right about that. Fine, there's an exception.
I mean, that's an entirely different big reveal of its own.
Well, yeah, sure. So anyway, so there's that, and then of course here we are with Hawkeye. Now, of course, folks, I doubt we're gonna get the mask. I don't expect anything super exciting, but it's the fact that we get new costumes and it'll probably look really nice.
I think we see Kate's too.
That's what I'm saying. The fact that we kind of we have like a nice little origin story built into it. Oh, the LARPing, that's kind of nice. Like I like how none of the costumes are made the same. That's kind of nice.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Okay, that guy has a very interesting point we should talk about, so we can, I guess, end on yet another Kingpin conversation point. Okay, I wonder if they reveal that Vanessa died for some reason off camera between Daredevil season 3 and now, and that's why Kingpin is a threat again moving forward. I've always held the theory that if the MCU were to bring in Daredevil finally, where things were left off in Daredevil season 3 was there was a truce reached between Fisk and Matt Murdock. Now, that was contingent on Vanessa's safety. Now, I'm thinking my assumption has always been that she was blipped, Kingpin was not. To add drama to the situation, I like to think, because I've always been waiting for this in the Daredevil series, that perhaps she is with Child, because they do have a kid together in the comics, little Richard Fisk.
Yeah.
Perhaps that was too much for the Kingpin to bear. Vanessa's gone, truce is broken. 5 years later, he's back on top of the criminal underworld, and hey, Vanessa's back. I'm a little less angry at the world, and I'm on top again. So yeah, I don't think she's necessarily dead, but that actress might be busy. So,
and it's kind of interesting that in the comics and other stories, she didn't really want anything to do with the fact that he was a criminal mastermind, but in this Netflix show, she kind of egged him on.
Yeah, absolutely possible. I mean, regardless, if they wanted to write her out without killing her off, I think the easy answer is, she had the child maybe like in the old country, and that's where she is at right now, and before she hasn't come back yet. Perhaps, I don't know. I think they're going to worry about if we're going to do Vanessa or not in the Echo show. I think that's when we're going to find out what the deal is there.
I wonder if we'll ever see the rabbit in a snowstorm again.
Oh God, Jacob, that will be the ultimate continuity thing. That will be the ultimate. Okay, nail in the coffin. We got. Well, sorry, not nail in the coffin. It'll be like, okay, there's the proof, right there. If it's stained with blood, or just if it's just there, period. But if it's there and stained with blood, But then again, they auctioned off last time he was arrested, so it's very. I mean, logically it could have been auctioned off, but the Kingpin, he would track it down.
I was like, let's face it, the Kingpin could easily just find it again and pay money and pay for it if you wanted to.
Yeah, certainly, unless it goes back to the owner, but she's dead now. So
I mean, think about it. Is there anything the Kingpin isn't capable of?
That is true. I mean, I remember that scene in Daredevil season 3. Oh God, we gotta stop talking about it while talking about Hawkeye. So, Daredevil season 3, there's a beautiful scene where he could have, you think the one thing he couldn't have was that painting back, but he let he had a very fascinating story. He let the woman have the painting because Vanessa would have wanted her to have it.
But he could easily get it back if he wanted to.
Oh, of course, he could have murdered that woman. He didn't. Bullseye did, however, he didn't.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just kind of interesting how they would blend that if they do canonize it, because the Netflix stuff is definitely rated MA for a reason.
True.
I mean, so it'd be interesting if they canonize it or do a broad strokes kind of thing.
That's what I'm saying. I think at the end of the day, it's just that's all they got to do is just kind of scale it to PG-13 a little bit, and like Bullseye can still be creepy without like going into like the super like even Daredevil, the Netflix Daredevil, they didn't go to the degree of like making him like the Punisher Max Bullseye, which is the most twisted Bullseye ever. So I mean, there is wiggle room. There's room to kind of scale down
Yeah,
and things, and so
yeah.
it's yeah.
I know, but it was still definitely rated MA for a reason.
Yeah, like we'd never get away with Kingpin, decapitating a man with a car door on Disney Plus. I'm sure about that.
Well, well, they could probably do it off screen. Just they could probably still do it, just not as in graphic detail and
Yeah,
probably more implications as such, which can be terrifying in its own right.
exactly. We can imply a man's being decapitated. Like look to Captain Falcon the Winter Soldier on that one. With John Walker,
I
we
mean,
can do that.
and most people would say that's probably in a way that's probably even more terrifying than Kingpin just slamming someone's head in the door.
Yeah, you've taken an American icon and an icon of Americana in this case with that shield, and you've used it to bludgeon a man to death.
Like some people say that's probably even more terrifying than the Kingpin.
It's pretty terrifying. I don't know if it's as terrifying as the Kingpin,
Well,
Jacob.
you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah, I know what you mean. I got you.
but what I mean is like they could sometimes you know what they say. Sometimes what you don't see is scarier.
All right, that guy has a comment. I think would be a good kind of springboard to a kind of a last point to make here. Unless you had anything else, Jacob, so let me know now so I can.
I mean, I think we've pretty much run the gambit on everything else. I mean, if we spent most of this talking about like Kingpin and Eleanor's connection to him, like, and I mean, without much else in the episode. I mean,
Right. Okay, so that guy says, "LOL," poor Hawkeye finally getting his own solo thing. He's being overshadowed by the Kingpin, which does bring about something I've heard talked up and something I was thinking about towards the start of the show, but got completely sidetracked with because I was having such a good time with it. Is that ever since WandaVision, is in the comic, I think during House of M, she killed Hawkeye, and we know she had a connection with Hawkeye. And I'm not saying it's going to happen here. My point is, given the fact this is a passing of the torch story, and I don't know how long Jeremy Renner wants to keep doing this. I know he made it very clear to Marvel since he took on the role of Hawkeye, he needs to have time with his kids, or else they can cast another guy in the role. So by that logic, Hawkeye, they could and eventually, like that book, the Hawkeye comic, it basically kind of focused more on Kate Bishop than it did Hawkeye. They kind of wrote him out after a while to make it fully her book with the passing of the mantle. So it is possible Hawkeye dies in this story. I don't think it's going to happen because it's a Christmas story, but it's possible.
it is possible.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah. What do you think? You think the odds are he's going to walk out of this? Like he's going to come out of this the other side? Or you think he might?
I mean, he needs to get home to spend Christmas with his family.
Yeah, by that logic, I'd be inclined to think he's going to survive. But as we've seen, he's been feeling really guilty about about what happened with Black Widow, and he killed Maya's father. He does have some burden to bear there. He was the swordsman who did it.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think he would do that. I mean, mainly for the sake of his family.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he cares about them too much to, purposely try to die.
Yeah, sure.
So, I mean, hopefully he doesn't die at all. I'm not saying I hope he dies at all, obviously, but
Of course.
I think if he successfully passes the torch on to Kate, he might lay low for a bit.
Yeah, I think the best theory I've heard is that just going forward, if we just keep Clint Barton around, he could be the leader, but maybe not the active member, but he could be the leader of the West Coast Avengers if he moves.
It's like, yeah, he could, pass on the torch to even more people.
Exactly. He could find people, build it. Because right now, remember, folks, the Avengers right now, it's kind of in disarray. Like they're unofficially disbanded because most of the members are gone, and Hulk's been dealing with She-Hulk, I imagine.
It's like, yeah, Captain America went back in time. It is now an old man.
Yeah.
Iron Man is dead.
Sadly.
Rest in peace, 3000.
Yep, absolutely.
Hulk is doing something with either She-Hulk or Shang-Chi.
Yeah, that sure, yeah.
Natasha's also dead.
Yep.
And Thor is off on his own adventures with the Guardians.
Yep, making everyone confused. Is that the poster or is that not the poster?
Yes. And that's just the original 6, not to mention all the other people who were on a quote unquote Avengers in the final battle.
Yeah, you get a bunch of Guardians. That's what I'm saying. The Guardians are doing their own thing. Everyone's doing their own thing right now.
I saw the comment that said if you came through that portal, you were an Avenger.
Oh yeah,
but and so we're not going to go over literally everyone who stepped out into the portal.
of course. Yeah, we'd be here all day.
Yeah, so like
it's more than 28 people alone. I'm sure there's. Well, I mean, I know there's a lot more. I'm just saying 28 main characters, and then you have like a bunch of like Howard the Duck and everything.
Yep. So basically, we're not going to know what's going to happen with Hawkeye going forward. He might leave the next generation, or he might just seek out just a quiet life with his family for the rest of his days, for all we know.
Yeah, it's possible.
I didn't mean that as like a pun based on his hearing. I hope he realized that.
Right.
But you can say he's definitely earned a quiet life with his family, nice peaceful life with his wife and children.
Sure, I mean, definitely deserves it. I mean, you saw how heart-wrenched he was not to be with his children. Yeah, we should give that to him. Yeah.
And it's a good thing. Let's just say, kudos to how accepting his wife is of the whole thing, how Laura is of the whole thing.
Oh yeah.
I mean, most of them would be I'm not saying most spouses obviously be more worried or hysterical of this kind of thing, but I mean, I'm not saying that necessarily is a standard, obviously, but
she married an Avenger. She knew the risk.
Yeah, so which is nice to see how understanding she is. She's obviously not happy about it, of course.
Of course.
But she understands that it's something that he feels he has to do.
Yeah. All right, so I just want to give a big old shout out to thank the folks in the audience, including that guy.
And that guy was the only guy who left a comment, so thank you, that guy.
Yeah. All right.
We definitely kept the conversation going, mainly around Kingpin, but it was interesting nonetheless.
But how can you not? He's so fascinating.
That he is.
All right, so again, folks, join us next week for the finale of Hawkeye, and then about after that, we'll be doing kind of our big kind of season overview. Now that we'll have the full story and going over all 6 episodes, but again, get our immediate reactions and kind of our thoughts on the finale next week.
Yes. So it's time to holster our remotes, right, Dragon?
Yep. So that'll do it for us this week, as we holster our remotes till the next installment calls for the draw. Mano a mano, just Plus and Us.
You embarrassed me in front of her.
I'll spend more than $6 on postage.